Hey everybody! Did you know the Passionate Health Advocate Show now has video? That's right. We now have a YouTube channel where you can listen and watch our latest episodes. Subscribe to the Passionate Health Advocate Show YouTube channel to stay up to date with our program. Frustrated with your pain or injury? That sucks, but I'm here to help. Hi, my name is Denise DeShetler, and I'm a bodyworker and educator. Why is it so hard to find the care we need to feel better? Most of my clients have asked that question for years until we started working together. Now I'm going to help you find those answers. I'll explore different health disciplines and chat with talented practitioners. We'll share our insights and practical advice to help you get the results you need to feel good again. Because seeking the right care for your health can be a pain in the arse. But with me, your wellness journey will turn into a fun-filled adventure. Buckle up, baby, for the Passionate Health Advocate Show. Welcome, listeners, and thanks for joining. I'm happy you're here. Today, we are going to a place where connecting with the cycles of the moon and optimizing self-care lead to balanced menstrual cycles, improved fertility, and more vitality after menopause. Let's buckle up. Welcome to the land of lunar rhythm. We are searching for Barbara Hannelore. She helps women and girls work with the menstrual cycle instead of against it, to understand it as a valuable rhythm of nature. Is that you?
It is. Hello. Yes, I would just love to introduce girls and women to this. Honestly, it is kind of a magical new paradigm for our cycles. Yeah.
Well, fantastic. I'm a woman and I'm happy to be here. I know a lot of our listeners are women and girls, and also there are men out there as well, but they are associated with women and girls. So I think this is really good information for everybody.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so thank you for being our guide today and taking us, because I feel like a lot of people don't think about the menstrual cycle with a rhythm or with the lunar rhythm. Do you want to tell us more about this land?
They also don't think about the menstrual cycle in any kind of positive way, right? Which is just so unfortunate. And it really sets us up for difficulty when we are encouraged to believe, the messages we get from the culture are that this is completely insignificant. It's downright embarrassing. One of your main jobs is to hide it and act like it's not happening. Well, that's so disempowering, because it divorces us from our own experience. It distances us from our own bodies, and we've just lost the value. And I started to understand that in many cultures there has been a completely different regard for the menstrual cycle. And often in these ways of living, there's also a deeper regard for nature and the rhythms of nature. So it kind of goes together, because nature has these powerful rhythms and women have powerful rhythms. And when we can see ourselves within this larger context of nature, it becomes very beautiful. It gives us a way to understand our own experience that's meaningful. And we understand, we can learn how to work with our own rhythms instead of against them. Because when you look at nature, everything works in a cycle. Modern culture would have us just charging relentlessly ahead with endless activities to catch up with. And we all know that's so unfulfilling. And nature doesn't work that way. It has these rhythms built in. It's just so beautiful. I just love it. I see it that way. I just see this rhythm. I see it as a circle. I'll show you the diagram I use in a minute, but I see it as a circle of, let's just say, the 28 moons of the month, like beads on a necklace. They're in a circle, and I see the full moon at the top and the darkest moon at the bottom. And so there's this predictable rhythm. And then there's the rhythm of the seasons. There's the summer sun at the top and the winter darkness at the bottom. And you can overlay, all of nature works this way. Everything has some kind of pulse, some kind of rhythm. If there wasn't a pulse, nothing would happen. Everything would just be still, And so all of nature works this way. There's day and night, there's even one breath in and out, and there's that time of expansion, and then there's the time of return. And so even though each phase is very different, obviously they go together and they balance each other out. Each one is meaningful. And so when we can learn, we can superimpose any cycle onto that model and see the similarities. So the wonderful thing is we can superimpose the menstrual cycle onto the phases of the moon or the seasons, and we can see the similarities between, let's say that our own menstrual time would be like the dark of the moon or the winter. It's that time of that the light has descended and declined, and it's a natural time of turning inward, a time of introspection and release, and kind of reevaluating what's working and what's not. And then once that is over, then the new cycle begins. And so there's, in our case, it would be like a couple weeks of the growing. I relate it to the moon cycle. So the time between the menstrual time and ovulation would be the growing light between winter and summer. The light is expanding. And in women's cycle, that would be the time when we start new projects, we feel more social, we have more of maybe sort of an outgoing energy, so that around the time of ovulation, it's kind of like full moon, our estrogen is high and we are feeling very social. And the key is the light is radiating outward. Our energy is probably radiating outward toward others, and we're feeling very social. And then there's that other half of the month where the light is declining, our hormones are changing, and we naturally become more introspective. And modern culture doesn't know what to do with that part of the month, and neither do we, because modern culture would really like us to be focused on other people and very accessible and agreeable all the time. But it doesn't, nothing in nature works that way. And so when we can learn the value of, okay, it's okay to take a different pace, it's okay to slow down, it's okay to feel less social, it's okay to need time alone, and make space for that in our month. One of the big advantages to starting to work with your cycle is you can plan ahead, and you can realize, I'm not going to feel the same 2 or 3 weeks from now as I feel right now. So why don't I plan ahead for that? And one of the things I do for women is I provide, this is going to be my free gift to your listeners, which is some calendar pages that show you. It's very simple, but there's just a blank calendar that shows a month of blank little squares. You mark on there just the days that you think your next period is going to arrive. And then you draw a nice red line through about 5 days. Will be like the premenstrual days beforehand, and then a couple of the first days of your period. You just draw that line, and then you don't put any optional activities on those days. You just reserve that time for yourself as a stepping back. And you don't plan doctor's appointments. You don't plan even get-togethers with friends. It's so easy to fill our time, but you give yourself that gift, and you'll learn that that you'll catch up later, like, oh no, I'll fall behind, but you'll actually catch up in the next phase of the month when you do have that new energy. And instead, women can arrive at the end of their menstrual time feeling refreshed instead of exhausted and resentful if they take that step back for themselves.
Oh, that sounds so nice. Yeah, I mean, how many people don't feel depleted after going through that? And you just, that's really beautiful. I'm so happy that you actually look at women's health that way, or especially the menstrual cycle, because myself included, I did not look at it that way growing up. It's taken me a long time to even really appreciate it. And I know I'm not alone. So how did you come to find this? How did you come to find this rhythm within yourself matching the rhythm of nature and the lunar cycle?
I was lucky early on. I lived kind of close to the land, close to nature for many years as a young adult. And I was lucky to run across a couple of women and study with them. I studied with Ruth Barrett. I studied with Tamara Slayton, and they were both doing this work similar to this work. And when I started looking into, books that I came across and people I met, just started looking into these cultures that I was talking about and realized, oh my goodness, there's a really different way of looking at women's rhythms, to where this time of stepping back is considered equally important than just charging ahead and kind of living on the surface of life all the time. And that, there's a woman who does this work in England, Alex Pope. She says that the menstrual cycle is the spiritual practice of women in their menstruating years. Mm-hmm. Now, what does that even mean? You hear something like that and you go, what is she talking about? But once you start to kind of look into this and turn toward your own menstrual rhythm with curiosity, with interest, as if your experience is valuable, then more and more things will occur to you as you realize, the value of stepping back and letting those deeper feelings come up and taking time. Maybe you need more creative time. You'll find the things that are calling to you that really feel off balance, they kind of call louder during that premenstrual time when we can tend to get so irritable. The irritability means maybe we desperately need time alone, or maybe there's just things that inside ourselves we know we need to pay more attention to.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. So because you were finding that in yourself and working with these women, that's what brought you.
Yeah, I learned that there was this whole other way of approaching it, and I realized that women were just completely missing this. And and another reason was because once I learned this, I felt it profoundly within myself. My understanding is that there was a common practice in Native American societies of the Moon Lodge, where women would go during their menstrual time as just a time to step away from normal daily activities and take more time for themselves. It wasn't a banishment. It was an opportunity, is what I've learned from, like, if you go far enough back in history, beyond the taboos that have arisen, there was it seems from what I have heard that this was created by women. And that that time was seen as a valuable time because the veil between the worlds is thinnest at that time, so that you're in more of a sort of a dreamlike or prayer-like state, where that state of consciousness where everything is connected. And I heard that one Native American said, this is the state of consciousness that people try to attain through meditation and prayer, and it's brought to women automatically during the menstrual time. And once I heard that, I was just profoundly affected by that, because I realized that state of consciousness that would come over me, I could feel it come over me, just like a wave. And it would feel kind of spaced out. And I realized this is not spaced out, this is not lazy, this is a different state of consciousness that is an expansive, prayerful state in which I feel connected to everything. And what a gift that is. It's a beautiful gift. And so if you have the opportunity to take that time to be in that state, even just doing nothing, because it's such a resonant, beautiful state of consciousness, you will benefit, instead of constantly pushing it aside or not even understanding that it's there. It's really quite profound.
That sounds profound. When you started doing that, like, how was it for yourself? Were you obviously when you were going through your cycles, and then was there a turning point when you discovered this? Could you feel the benefits, not only feeling the profound wash over your body, but what do you say has changed with your whole system as you've become, attached with the whole lunar cycle and the flow? Like, how have things changed for yourself?
Well, I remember one day, because I would allow myself time to do nothing. On, like, let's say on my first day of bleeding, like the heaviest day of bleeding, give yourself that time to just do nothing, or at least give yourself an hour, just something, so that you're acknowledging this this shift that has taken place for you. And, some people say, and this is a wonderful way to look at it, that menstruation is work that our bodies do on behalf of humankind. And we don't have to act like it's not happening. It's okay to take that time and take care of ourselves. And I remember one time I laid around for a couple of hours or just for some time in the backyard. And then I laid around for a while in my bedroom looking out the window at this beautiful tree that was waving in the wind. And then I laid around for a while in the bathtub. And that was the most fulfilling day of just lying around and just feeling dreamy. Because of doing that, I did feel so fulfilled again when I would step into that next month of activity. And also, you can have aha moments during the menstrual time of just things will just occur to you. It'll be like a breakthrough of intuition. I would just make up songs and sing them, and it just felt like this very spontaneous creative process that was percolating through me.
Okay, yeah. That sounds really lovely. I would say for a lot of people listening, some people probably meditate, and getting that state or understanding what that feels like in a meditative state. One thing that keeps coming to me, though, when you're describing this is there's a lot of people that have a lot of obligations. Yeah. So what would you say to women that want to, take some time for themselves, but they feel like their life, their responsibilities won't allow them? So what's like an easy way to step into that?
That is such a good question. And I want to encourage women that little things can make a big difference. And once you start just with something little, then more will occur to you. And it's partly just because you're communicating with yourself in that way. And your body's kind of going, oh, really? Well, okay, then we have this little bit of time. And so now maybe something else will occur to you. Like I said, if you can't take a day, take an hour or half an hour. There was one, I think I mentioned this in my book as an example, that there was one mother who every time she got her period, her husband would take the kids for 2 hours and she would wrap up in her favorite rocking chair in her favorite quilt and listen to her favorite music. And she got to look forward to that every month. And it was just it was bliss for her. Wow. for those 2 hours. And I recommend to women, like if you have to go to work, of course, most women do need to continue working, and talking less makes a big difference because talking is expending energy. And so if you just notice, like that feeling of stepping back and maybe just being within yourself a little more, and you might I've had women have great success with this. You don't need to maybe talk as much, and you might feel that your energy, that you have a more reserve of energy that way. I had a client who was a yoga teacher, and she noticed she was teaching a yoga class maybe on her first day of bleeding, and she usually would start the yoga class with talking, and she realized she had a choice. It's like, oh, maybe I don't have to talk right now, so we'll just do some breathing. And that's how she started the class. And she, you feel good, not just because maybe it feels good to do that, but there's a sense of kind of self-respect, like, oh, I did that for myself. That feels good, that I noticed and supported myself that way. So those are a couple of ideas.
Oh, okay. That makes sense. It's like, maybe I know for a lot of people that feel overwhelmed with their life, and then, the onset of menstruating, but the idea of like, okay, what can I do this choice for the next 5 minutes? Like these little subtle changes, and then honoring that every time.
Okay. And the calendar pages that I was telling you about, if you can do them up and just decorate them and feel like a goddess of your own life, put them on the refrigerator, kind of make a big deal of the fact that you have this rhythm that operates right in the middle of your life. It affects everything, and make it special. I encourage women to print out the calendars, maybe tape them onto a bigger piece of paper and decorate the border, and then mark it up, and then do a new one next month. And women have a lot of fun with that. And one of my clients was talking to me one day, like, oh, not feeling so, I feel overwhelmed. And I asked her where her calendar was, and she goes, oh, it's in my phone. And I said, well, No, that you need to actually print out make it a physical, our bodies are physical, our periods are extremely physical, and you need to make your calendar physical, have fun with it, put it up, color it. And she had just kind of forgotten that. She's like, oh yeah, okay, thank you. And another fun thing is that the men in the house, the husbands and boyfriends, most always they want to be supportive, but maybe don't know how because they haven't learned much about our cycles because we haven't learned much about our cycles. So how are they going to know much about our cycles? And yet, if you put something up on the refrigerator, for example, that shows your cycle as a circular rhythm, like the seasons with these different phases, and then, they can relate to that. Like, oh, okay, you're in this different season now, or you're approaching this different season now where maybe you need some more space, more time to yourself, not to have difficult, stressful conversations during that time, but just like make it nice and easy during that time. So the whole household can prepare for that.
Oh, nice.
Just have that be a rhythm, because it is a rhythm of the household, and it's nice to make it conscious.
Right. And it sounds like if you're educating women on that, anybody that's in their life can also benefit from learning the cycle.
Yes.
Make it a smooth cycle.
I have a couple more suggestions. I mentioned that premenstrually time alone is huge. And you can get, again, even if you have a half hour alone, one big aspect of time alone is that you're not going to be interrupted. You're not going to be interrupted. So you may need to negotiate this with other members of the household. Like maybe your husband would need to take the kids for a certain amount of time, or someone else could take them for a certain amount of time. And so that you're going to have that time, and you need to negotiate that ahead of time, so you're not trying to negotiate it when you need the time alone. That's an important thing. And then another thing is to do something special for yourself when your period starts. Every month, I encourage women to create a special box where you just put pretty things, a little notebook with a pen, a little mug with some tea in it, a nice little red scarf, just whatever it is that you can bring out and open up and feel special. And it's fun to be able to anticipate that and know that that's waiting just for you. So you can start to do these things, and actually you can start to look forward to your menstrual time as it's your optimal self-care time, even if you take it in little small steps. And like I said before, if you have the courage to take that step back, you'll most likely find that you do have a burst of energy where you can catch up when you're in that next phase, kind of that springtime phase after your menstruation has ended.
Oh yeah, it's the Passionate Health Advocate Dance Break. Now get up and shake your thing.
That all makes sense. I mean, for people listening, it's kind of like, as an example of just noticing how your body functions. Some people are like, oh, I have more energy in the morning, or I have more energy in the evening, so I will do certain activities based on that. For women, noticing their menstrual cycle, and then can monitor that, is just expanding it to something that I think a lot of us do ignore or put off, or just don't really address it in a way, not even a positive way, but just even acknowledging it as we go about our day. Because we're like, oh, I have work to do. I have kids to feed. I have all these things I have to do. So yes, I think just even making 5 minutes.
That's right.
Will make a huge thing. So let me ask you, because you are a self-care coach. Is this correct? Mm-hmm. Okay. And so for women that you are treating or that come in, who are they? Are they dealing with certain issues specifically that come to see you? Like, do they have menstrual issues? Do they have irregular periods? Do they have a lot of cramps? What's going on? Do you address any of these things, helping people find their natural rhythm?
It has been a lot of different things. And I wrote this book called The Moon and You, A Woman's Guide to an Easier Monthly Cycle. And so I developed 3 5-week classes based on the chapters of this book. And so when women join my classes, as you said, they do come for a lot of different reasons. One woman was getting off of, I think it was maybe Depo-Provera, and wanted to be able to become pregnant and get her cycle back under control, which happened very quickly, much more quickly than I believe it usually does when she was working with me and kind of tuning into her own rhythm in a loving way. And I want to, I'm going to just write this down. I want to remember to talk about the moon. Speaking of lunar rhythm, and other women, yes, pain. It's amazing. It's amazing that premenstrual pains and difficulties, so much can honestly clear up through paying this different kind of attention and respect to ourselves, and doing these things for ourselves, noticing the rhythm of the month can really start to change everything.
Good to know. Because I know, even from the onset of, the menstrual cycle to menopause. And I know with my bodywork practice, I treat a lot of people that are experiencing menopause. And so they're having a lot of challenges. So what would you say for women that are going through this change?
I'm actually leading a 4-month menopause circle right now, and I really look forward to leading it again next year. And again, like with my work with the menstrual cycle, I don't specialize in the hormonal aspect of it, but I refer to wonderful people who do. But I help women to address, to experience menopause as the end of a larger life cycle. It's the end of the reproductive years. And so at the end of a cycle, you're coming back to yourself, you're reevaluating. So menopause, one big word for menopause is just change. It's different for everybody, but it's change. And many women can just feel like everything is changing. They don't know what's happening. A lot of that is hormonal, but a lot of it too is things that you've been ignoring, aspects of yourself that desperately need your attention, being more creative, whatever it is, that really comes up to be evaluated at that time of life. So in my 4-month menopause circle, we address kind of the 3 stages of menopause: the before, the during, and the after. So at the beginning of the class, we spend some weeks reviewing, and this loving review of our lives with different creative and kind of simple ritual practices, like a candle ritual, things like that, to just help you review your life. And women it's just so fulfilling to take the time to do that, because it's something we don't often take the time to do. And then the middle part is just the passage, just simply acknowledging that change is happening, whether we like it or not. And then the third part is kind of looking ahead to how can we really support ourselves most in the coming years. And we have a final celebration. So addressing menopause that way, again, can make huge changes and be a wonderful benefit for women.
That sounds nice, because I know it's a huge shift, and it sounds like you're helping people get the mind shift around what it is about. Because I won't lie, a lot of people dread hearing menopause or the thought of going through that process. And so if we can approach it without the dread and know that it's a natural part and a part that we can honor, I'm sure that's going to help so many people.
Yeah, that's right. And, I have found it's hard, and menopause takes time. My 50s were just hard for a variety of reasons. And you can just think everything is ending, because it's that dark time of the cycle when you can't see ahead. One cycle is ending, you don't know what's going to happen next. So it's a huge time for trust. And but then I heard from older women before I had gone through it myself. My friend Dixie just said, "Yeah, I thought I was dying. Everything was ending. We lost our business, and I had no energy." And then it took years, but she found her energy again and found new enthusiasm for her projects. And I found the same thing happened to me. And of course, we can have decades of vibrant health past menopause, but that transition time is is not easy, and we need that support. And another thing is I'm trained in expressive arts, which is so fun because I just bring that, allowing women to draw and scribble and just get feelings out on the page with some color is always kind of like your inner child, letting your inner child express itself.
Oh, nice. And then, so obviously you work with women and women that deal with menopause. Do you do anything with young adolescents that are starting their menstrual cycle?
I have a kit now called the Mother's Moon Kit, which helps mothers prepare for their daughter's coming of age. And I wrote a booklet years ago called How to Celebrate Your Daughter's Coming of Age, where I just gathered lots of tips and ideas of things you could do just with her, or things you could do with her in a group if she was willing, and projects you could do, and ways to more easily go into conversation. So I was just talking about this with someone yesterday that, a lot of moms have such a hard time with this conversation about the menstrual cycle, because I think part of it is because when they look back in their own history, there's not much to draw from. They didn't get much support or much meaningful information themselves. And then they want it to be a comfortable, easy conversation. And so they keep putting it off. And I feel for them so much. And so I have suggestions for moms of how, if you put it in the context of nature, like women have this rhythm and the moon has this rhythm, and here's kind of what it means. These different phases have meaning for us. We have a kind of a more expansive time, and we have more of a kind of catching up self-care time. And the menstrual time is really a time of letting go and sort of reevaluating for us. And you might want time alone. You might want to do some more writing, or just some way of supporting her to appreciate those phases of the month within the context of nature. I find that to be very helpful.
Okay.
Oh, and so I have the Mother's Moon Kit, which my booklet that I wrote is now a part of that Mother's Moon Kit. And that's one of the links that I'll give you that moms can look into on their website.
So we'll have that on the link. So it's going to be Mother's Moon Kit. And that's something where could they find that?
That'll be on my website on Women's Way Moon Cycles.
Okay. Nice. No, that's good, because in my life, I have a lot of nieces that are approaching that time period. So I think that would be really appropriate. Nice.
Yeah. And a lot of what's in the Mother's Moon Kit is for the mothers, because I help the mothers to take another look at their own menstrual cycle and how they could support themselves in that area, and also take another look at their own coming of age and kind of give themselves some of what they didn't get. It's so fun to do that, and it's never too late.
Oh, yeah. I think of a lot of people in my life, we didn't have that. This is not a normal conversation. This is not part of the masses. And that's one of the reasons why I wanted to come here, because we're getting a whole different lens, as we were saying, a different way to look at things.
Yeah.
So the fact that you talk about the lunar cycle, do you want to go into more about the lunar cycle and how that relates to the menstrual?
Yeah, thank you. Let me bring up this model. And I know some people are just listening and can't necessarily see this, but this is the circle of the 28 days of the moon that I was talking about. This is in my book. And so the darkest day of the moon is at the bottom. It's opposite the full moon, which is at the top. And this diagram goes clockwise. So going up to the left would be kind of the first couple of phases of the moon as the light is growing. And then down to the right is the last couple of phases of the moon as the light is waning. And then I have menstruation at the bottom and ovulation at the top, because your own menstrual time is like your own dark moon time, even if you're not actually menstruating at the dark of the moon. It's just like your own kind of introspective time. I also have, as this line is going clockwise, the first half says beginning projects and expanding. And then with the waning light going down the other side, it says completing projects and evaluating. So that's kind of the way the whole cycle works together. And then over here on another page, I have the same 28-day circular moon rhythm with the seasons on it.
Okay.
So you can just see winter at the bottom, and then spring up on the left, and summer at the top, which is similar to the full moon, and then autumn over on the right. So it's just nice to see how it all goes together. And then in the book, of course, I go into great detail about what this all means and how to work with it in very simple ways. And I also wanted to mention that for menopausal women, especially when women have stopped their cycles, if they want to still have that rhythm in their lives, they can observe the moon, because each month the moon has this waning time when it wanes to darkness. And that's another reason I'm so into this, is because I really feel that every month. And I feel that when often I'll just be feeling like really down and really kind of discouraged. And I'll realize, oh yeah, these are the days of the dark moon, right before the new moon. The light is waning and darkening. And so this is not a time of seeing clearly. So it's just always nice to remember that. And so menopausal women can follow the moon, like on my calendar, I have ways you can mark where the moon is and just kind of follow the moon each month. And then as the dark of the moon approaches, you can sort of take that as a time to step back and take a little more time for yourself. And you may feel that as I do, or you may just want to take that time just as kind of a life balance.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Yeah. So there's always, as the rhythm is going a little bit shifting, there's something that can kind of like anchor them into a flow.
That's a good way to put it. And that just brings up one more thing, that menstruating women find that if they do observe the moon, it can help to regulate an irregular menstrual cycle.
That was going to be my next question, because I know a lot of people deal with that issue, irregular bleeding. So you found that with the people that you work with, that once they start aligning with that kind of flow, that their menstrual cycle becomes
it'll help
steady.
it to regulate it. It may not always regulate. Some traditions like Ayurveda really think that it's better to bleed at the dark moon. A lot of women end up menstruating at the full moon, and that's fine. Our bodies have their own reasons for doing what they do, but it's just fascinating to me that our bodies align with the moon's rhythm in any way, because we have so much artificial light affecting our bodies. But if you watch the moon and let the moonlight into your eyeballs so that your body kind of knows what the moon is doing, it can help regulate your cycle. Yeah.
I like how you put that, because I'm a water person and I live near the water, and I know that the moon has a strong effect for anybody that does any sort of navigation on the open water. I mean, the moon affects the tides, and when you talk about the flow, I mean, literally the flow of the menstrual cycle. I mean, we have ebbs and flows just in when we see the tide. So, and the moon will definitely have an effect on high tide, low tide, and just all of that. So it's another way of just seeing the linkage between all the rhythms that we have out there that we actually do pay attention to. We just don't ever associate it with our own body.
Oh, that's right.
Nice. So if people, want to find more, what's the best way to reach you?
Well, my website is Women's Way Moon Cycles. That's plural, womenswaymooncycles.com. And I've got a couple of free gifts right there on the first page. I think I have my menopause free gift of some pages on menopause, and then my calendar free gift is there on the first page also. But I'm gonna leave a link with you also of the calendar free gift, because that's such a fun thing for women to work with.
Yeah, thank you. No, that's great. And you said that you also have that class. You do that twice a year?
I do. I've got my wonderful 4-month menopause. It's called the Heart of Menopause, or Intimate Menopause Group Coaching. A couple of different names for it, but it's coming up again mid-January. And I know that if women are hearing this after we have started, since it is a 4-month program, there would still be time for them to catch up if they're interested and just listen to the previous weeks, or it'll be starting again in July of 2022. So there's also time to kind of get on the waiting list and get some emails and kind of get caught up with what we're doing that way. It's really so nice to have that time to explore menopause in this really self-respecting and creative way. I want to just mention to you too that doing this work enhances fertility. And it's amazing. I've had a couple of clients who quickly got pregnant when they were working with me. And I realized I need to tell women when they're working with me that this work enhances your fertility. And when you think of it, well, of course it does, because this whole program is about optimizing your menstrual cycle, which of course helps to optimize your fertility. So it really, I mean, it's an essential aspect of optimizing our fertility that we've just kind of gotten out of touch with that. We don't realize, and it's sad because often women who are trying to get pregnant, they just resent their menstrual time. It's like, oh no, my period. But they have never had the opportunity to really step into the cycle and recognize its value and work with it. So this work can really help women to sort of balance all those kind of struggling emotions that are happening when you're trying to get pregnant.
Yes, yes. Thank you for sharing that. I mean, it sounds like that is a wonderful bonus for many women, and also good to know for women that don't want that to happen.
Yeah.
It's like, but I think on the flip side, it's just even that you can monitor.
Mhm.
So I imagine, I mean, again, why we do this show, we're trying to get people to listen to their body, understand what resonates with them. And so you are definitely bringing that focus for when it comes to our cycle, which is not talked about enough. And I know that this is a stressful subject for many people because either one, they've had issues and it's not addressed in the medical industry in this way. I mean, yes, the medical industry does a lot of things to help, but it doesn't help the mindset of the way our culture is, where we ignore it or we just kind of move through it. And so connecting with it on a beautiful connection, of course, we would have a better flow, more fertility, and even be able to know if we're trying not to get pregnant, just how to listen to our body. So the fact that you're guiding women and mothers and young women to do that better, I mean, that's just a hope for everybody to be more connected.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you.
I want to let women know too that for mothers and daughters, girls, I have the Mother's Moon Kit available, and then for mothers, for women, all about the menstrual cycle. As I said, I've developed 3 5-week classes based on my book, all about the menstrual cycle, and those are pretty much offered according to interest right now. But I love working with small groups. So if any women have a small group of women who would like to perhaps do one of these classes, they can definitely just check with me and look on my website or ask me for more information about those.
Okay, that's lovely. And so is that where you can find your book?
Yes.
On your website? Okay.
Yes, my book is on my website for sure. It's also on Amazon, but you need to type in my name as well as the book title in order for it to come up.
Okay. Okay, and we're going to have all of that listed below. So if anybody's listening to the podcast, it'll be in the show notes. And if you're watching, we're going to have it on the YouTube. So, well, Barbara, thank you so much for taking us to this land of lunar rhythm. It definitely feels more soothing just even talking about it. And I hope for people that are watching and listening, just opens their minds about a different approach that probably most of us don't have when it comes to our menstrual cycle.
Oh, thank you, Denise. And you have really helped me to capture this in a nice and meaningful and pleasant way today. So thank you so much for inviting me.
You're welcome. Thank you so much for being our guide today.
Thanks for joining the Passionate Health Advocate Show with your host, Denise DeShetler. Like what you hear? Then subscribe, rate, and review this podcast.